Good evening, everyone. My name is John Dalton, and I would like to welcome you to the City Council Week's Candidate Forum, hosted by the Gulfport location. I know that serving on the City Council is a very demanding job. I would like to thank all the candidates who run. With that, I would like to introduce the candidates. First of all, this evening, unfortunately, one of the candidates, Christopher Brown Jones, is not able to attend to the illness. So the candidates who we have on stage are Michael Predovich, Greg Simek, Ian Manure, and Christine Bach. So thank you all for being here. Tonight is an opportunity for you to get to know the candidates. So we will start with a 2-minute opening introduction, opening statement for each of the candidates. Then we will move on to the questions and issues that you, the audience, have presented. And I want to emphasize that you should continue to submit questions throughout the forum tonight. We have volunteers that will walk around, get the questions from there, and turn them in. We have timekeepers under the auditorium, and they will ensure that the candidates' remarks are kept to an exact timing. For each of the issues or questions, candidates will have 1 minute to answer. When we get through all 4 answers, we will circle back, and then each candidate will have an additional 30 seconds to recap that issue, but only on that topic. The candidates have been seated in order, and we will rotate the questions as we go on this evening. At 8:15, or if we run out of questions before them, candidates will each have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Few additional housekeeping items. Please silence your cell phones or any devices that are giving noises. There will be no national or partisan politics here this evening. This is the local city council. Candidates will not be allowed access to their cell phones during the debate. We would ask that you save your applause and or comments until the debate forum is done. With that, for the first opening statement, I will go to Mike.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the GMA and all of you that are attending tonight. My name is Michael Predovich. I've been your city councilman in Ward 4 for 10 years. As you know, we each represent a ward, but you vote citywide. I'll give you a quick background on what I've done for the city and my background. I've got a Bachelor of Science degree from Georgia State University. I was a master's candidate in history at Georgia State, but did not finish. I have an honorary doctorate from the Catholic University of New Spain out of Miami. And last year I was appointed the honorary chancellor for the Catholic University of New Spain out of Miami. I sit on the executive finance committee for the Tampa Bay Regional Council at this time. I am a Vietnam veteran, spent 3 years in the United States Army, honorably discharged. I'm a member of the Andy Anderson American Legion Post, and I've been involved in politics and in social issues for the last 50 years. And that's all I've got this time.
Into that.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, my name is Greg Simek. So this is my second time public speaking, much larger audience than the Democratic convention last week. So if I'm a little bit nervous and it takes me a minute to warm up, forgive me. Okay, so I moved to St. Pete area about 10 years ago. I had grown up in various cities from New York. I was born in New York City. We lived in LA. We lived in rural Massachusetts, rural Vermont. Moved around a lot. I ended up moving here to the area about 10 years ago because I started a small business and we needed a place to expand and chose St. Pete, greater St. Pete area. So that's how I wound up here about 10 years ago, and then moved here approaching a couple years ago just because my family and I, we loved coming to Gulfport. We loved the eclecticism and the little kind of separate, it was kind of a little bit separate enclave from the St. Pete, greater St. or metropolitan area. So that's why we came here originally. And I just turned 40, and over the last couple of years, I've been looking for like a way to meaningfully contribute to society. And that is one of the impetuses for me to run. My small business, we manufacture nutritional supplements similar to what you would see at a GNC. And it really kind of hit me like, I don't want to be 60 and known for making protein powder my whole life. Like, I want to do something a little bit more meaningful, a little bit more substantive. And that's one of the reasons why I am choosing to run. Another reason was because how much time do I have? 23 seconds? Well, maybe I'll get to another reason another time, but I'm really honored to be here and to meet you and, hopefully engage in some kind of authentic dialogue.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Ado O'Haron. This is my second time running for this particular position. I've lived in Gulfport for 16 years, and I feel that I'm willing and able to listen to everyone. I think everyone needs a voice, and not everybody is heard. It would be nice to hear some new ideas. It would be nice to hear some old ideas. And it's all about accessibility and clarity. I work at Winn-Dixie as a meat clerk. I've been there for 12 years. I operated the Havana Cigar Factory for a period of time. And I have been active within the community. Anyway, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank the Merchant Chamber for allowing us to be present, and I'd like your vote. Thank you. Ms. Lee?
Hi, thank you for being here. I want to express my gratitude to the Gulfport Merchant Chambers for allowing us to come up here and share our views, and thank you for being here to showing your commitment to your city government. My name is Kristen Brown. I am your city council representative for Ward 2, I always say those wrong, and a 35-year resident of this community. I was born in Hawaii, Ford Island, in case anybody's ever been to Ford Island, into a military family. Aside from living in Colorado, my father was in Vietnam. I'd always lived on the coast. I lived in Hawaii, Washington, California, Connecticut, Virginia, South Carolina, and Florida. I am drawn to the water's edge, as many of you. I'm a graduate of Lakewood High School, St. Petersburg Junior College when it was a junior college, Efron College with a Bachelor of Science degree in pure mathematics, and a master's degree from the University of Florida in curriculum and instruction. I'm teaching my 31st year of mathematics at Bovacega High School. Settling in Gulfport, I've started a family and named my daughter something that I never can, roots. With a military family and move around a lot. My daughter is a 7th generation Gulfporter. A great way to learn about your community is to volunteer. I became involved by first becoming a volunteer firefighter for Gulfport when we had a volunteer department. This led me to volunteering at the Gulfport Historical Society, the Gulfport Firefighter Retention Board, the Finance Committee at my church, Gulfport Millennium Committee, Charter Review Committee twice because once is never enough, the Code of Ordinance Review Committee, Girl Scout Leader, Community Emergency Response, and the Lions Club. Because of my volunteer work, I know our town, our people, and our places. I believe that with volunteer service comes wisdom, inspiration, and a unique appreciation for all that is Gulfport. I'm proud to be part of the tapestry of our interwoven community.
All right, thank each of you for your opening statements. With that, we'll move on to our first question, which Greg, you will have the first question. Describe the top 2 issues Gulfport faces and your solution to them. Please be specific in steps you'd like to take in the resolution.
This is me, or?
No, we're rocking.
Okay. So the questions are, describe the top 2 issues.
Gulfport faces and your solutions.
In 2 minutes? That's a bit of a challenge. 1 minute.
No, you're down to 50 seconds.
Okay. All right. Post-COVID, I think that Gulfport has faced immense challenges, not least because of some of these massive migratory patterns going into St. Pete, inflation and everything else. And really, Gulfport, as a direct suburb of St. Pete, has really suffered both some of the positive and the negative aspects of that, explosive growth. I think one of the negative aspects, and this goes into these major issues, is the affordability. Everything that's cool about Gulfport's getting priced out. Okay, the artists are getting priced out. A lot of these kind of cultural leaders are getting priced out, and that affordability is a major issue. In terms of the negative issues, I think we are seeing kind of this encroaching homelessness, and those, I think, are two important issues.
Bill, I agree with Greg. Affordability is definitely a large issue, and I think there are ways that we can remedy those. I want to talk about really more of a philosophical issue, which is the clarity. I really believe that our government needs to be clear and precise with what they're doing, why they're doing it, when they're doing it. And not for us as the members of the community to have to cobble things together. I do like puzzles, but those kinds of puzzles can be quite difficult and annoying for most people. I also believe that we need to have better communication. We live in an era of technology where we can communicate on many, many levels, and through email, through phone calls, through paper, all of the different items that are out there. And I really believe that that's one of the leading challenges that we have for Gulfport. Thank you.
Christine? Thank you. I think there's something that we want to work on. I want to work on. Plan Bayou is one of my projects to come. I believe that Plan Bayou has been silted in by the artificial mountains that were created inside of at the Osgood points. So the artificial mounds, are the runoff from them, are silting in Plan Bayou. I'd like to explore the idea of looking into getting rid of the mounds so they stop flowing into Plan Bayou, and they then we can get back to our natural sandy bottom that should be there. Another thing that I think is important is that police and fire departments need a new complex. They've outrun the places where they are, and I think 49th Street is ripe for a new complex, as well as an anchor for some improvements along the 49th Street corridor.
10 years ago, I suggested that we build a brand new structure for police and fire on 49th Street, and it's that stage of the game I got voted down. So that didn't happen. I've also believed that infrastructure is one of our biggest concerns. If we don't fix our infrastructure, you can build the most beautiful house in the world, but if your foundation is crumbling, nothing's going to stand. So my biggest issues have always been infrastructure and constituent issues. So I've been very easy to get a hold of, since you can always find me on my business cards. I've always got my cell phone. Someone called me or sent me an email. I get back to them as soon as possible. Every once in a while, someone does slip through the cracks, so I may not see the comment if it's an email or something like that. But I've been worked very strongly on constituent services in the time I've been on city council, and again on the infrastructure. I also worked very, very hard after 13 years of getting the mooring fields put in. That is one of my major accomplishments that I was able to accomplish.
Wait, you for the type of reform?
Well, I didn't get much of a chance to explain any solutions, and I'm not sure how many solutions I can explain in 30 seconds, but I think if we address the affordability issue, I think, a good way is incremental and strategic upzoning in certain areas, probably around the downtown strip over there, to increase some housing supply. And then also looking at some maybe unused or land which we could also use for affordable or workforce housing.
Okay, and the next question will start with you. What is the number one idea you have that you will work hard to hit up? Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up already.
He is the person.
Yes, I also was very supportive of the police department. I believe that the police, definitely need a raise. It's the second lowest paid police department in Pinellas County, just above Little. And there are 6 vacancies, and I'd like to know why. Christine?
Michael's right. He did bring up the police station 10 years ago, and I think it's still a viable alternative. By the way, I think sewers are also important. We have completed approximately a mile of water line replacement. We completed the lift station project. We rehabilitated 49 manholes, smoke tested the whole system, completed all priority 1 sewers, addressing inflow and infiltration issues, sanitary sewer rehabilitation program, modern rehabilitation program, and private outlets.
Will you repeat the question, Paul?
Describe the top 3 issues Gulfport faces and your solutions to them.
Well, as always said. This is your stereotype of the... Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back to the police for a second. I just got, myself, I was just endorsed by the PBA as of last night, Police Benevolent Association. The FOP has not come forward, so I don't know what they're going to do. And we're waiting to hear from the real estate board, which we all interviewed with yesterday. So where do you hear all those numbers? Transparency. I think transparency's been misused. I think many of us on the board are easily defined. It's not a big town. So if someone has a problem, they can find us. They can call you. They can email you. Housing. Housing is an invention. Sorry. Cool. Okay. So what's for that question?
Yeah, now the next question is you began, please. What's the number one idea that you have that you will work hard for? Great question. I would really like to see our zoning and codes listed in an A to Z fashion. So we all have an example for placing windows in our homes, and so that's 1-4. I believe that if we get tangled up in not knowing, at least homeowners get tangled up in not knowing what the next step is. And I really believe that is something that can be easily remedied within the first few months. And we can have this, again, in many different formats, on paper format, online, whatever it is that one chooses to communicate. What's the number one idea you have that you will work hard within?
Offered to do one. I have a list. I'd like to start with a splash pad. I think that is a great family activity on the waterfront. And I suggested that a couple years ago. I think it's finally coming into fruition. I'd like a water tower at the marina so that you can go up and observe a water tower, observation tower, and you can observe Clam Bayou and the surrounding area. I could go on. I'd like a bat house. No secret, I want a merry-go-round down to the waterfront. I'd like to replace Williams Pier and Gulfport bonfire improvements, a mobile stage. I'd like a fan show.
Michael?
The number one issue. I'm going to sound like a broken record here for a second, but again, if we don't continue working on our infrastructure, and I want to emphasizing that, if we don't work on our sewers, our lateral, etc., which we've done, by the way, we've spent $370,000 on a water replacement program, and we have done $220,000 on residuals to residents of the Gulfport. So again, working on trying to help constituents get their water worked out, get the infrastructure working. We're paving streets, and we keep doing this. We are a full service city with a limited budget, and yet we keep getting things through. Even during COVID, we were able to move things along. As far as along the staff things that go on, we are a weak mayor government, and a lot goes to the city manager. The city council does not have any control over.
Right.
Sure. One of my priorities would be to increase the generational diversity within Gulfport. I believe that, the age demographic skews slightly on the higher end, which is fantastic. Everyone appreciates kind of the inclusivity between various ethnicities, various age demographics, supporting, the local businesses and all of that inclusivity. And one of my priorities would be certainly to increase that generational diversity. How I would go about doing it? Well, one, I think that younger generations and other ethnicities should have a stronger voice. So I did actually recommend some sort of advisory committee, much like the Senior Center Advisory Committee, which can provide some guidance to more strategic level thinking within the government.
He had referred to everything. Yes. I'm going to go back to the police department, and I was very supportive of the expanse on a new facility on the 49th Street. I thought it was a great idea. And yes, Michael was very good at pushing that forward. And I'd like to see that happen. Our police and fire need it. I believe that they're stuck in a situation where they're not getting.
Christine, my rehab, and on my list of future considerations is the new public safety complex. Our fire department has just added another person, and they are they're maxed out on sleeping space, and they say they're 24 hours, so it's really hard. They need a bigger thing, and the police department doesn't have enough room for the female officers to have their own space, so we need that complex, right?
Another
Folder is separate report.
I really don't have one. We have a teen council. Unfortunately, they're not as well. All people have to do is reach out. Putting something on Facebook does not reach city council members sometimes. I don't look at Facebook and find out, oh wow, that happened yesterday and I need to talk to someone about it. There's a problem, contact us. We're easily accessible. Which is the red card and the yellow card, by the way? I got to ask you that question. Got it. Thank you.
Sure. To summarize why I think, looking at, generational diversity is important is, attracting millennials and younger families will, sustain a long run growth and sustainability of the community in an inclusive way. I think, that the demographics point to that. Also bring in, income. A rising tide lifts all boats. So that's why I think that's important.
Christine, the next question you will start with. It appears to be difficult for new businesses to be successful in Gulfport. Where's Gulfport and the
In town is teaching, right? Business development right here. All right, I'm ready. We have a very proactive and involved merchants chamber. Our storefronts are full. The property owners are happy. Businesses are not closing, like Dog Pier, Smoke and Jay's, and Let It Be were all sold. They're not closed to the port business. Seabreeze is reopened and are staying in Gulfport. Gulfport Merchants puts on most events. What does that have anything to do with it? So the Gulfport Merchants Association promotes business as well as the city. I would like to see the city planning and zoning department develop a check sheet for everybody that wants to open a business. You got to do this first, do this first, do this next, do this next. So there's one piece of paper that everybody has to follow, and there's no surprise.
I have to agree with Christina that one. We do need a business checklist, but I've been a small business owner. I've been a restaurateur. I've had numerous other businesses and that, plus being an entrepreneur. I believe that for businesses to survive in Gulfport, you have to understand your demographics before you move in. You just can't put a business down and hope people are going to show up. And I think a lot of that has to do with the business owners themselves. At the present, by the way, we've got we're coming in with our third coffee shop and our fourth pizza place. So we'll see which one survives. We have the new one coming down on Beach. We've got one coming on 49th Street. We've got the old Fazio's location, and we've got Spiro's downtown. So, again, how many places can something survive in a town of 12,500? We'll see. I will say that 10 years ago, we were not a destination. Due to the GMA and what the city has done to improve the city, we are now a destination in Gulfport. Thank you.
All right. So the question was, what? Can you repeat the question? Can I get my mic on?
So I'll let this help fortune.
I have no idea what Gulfport's doing. That's why I'm running. I run a small business. I have 20 employees. I'm in the trenches every single day with hiring, motivating employees. It is freaking hard. And from chatting with small businesses over here, I would not start a small business here. There's a lot of red tape. There's parking issues. There's hiring issues. I mean, all our workforce is getting priced out. The public transportation stinks. It's hard to get workers in who serve the hospitality industry. These are low unskilled labor positions that that people within Gulfport, we're not hiring within Gulfport. It's extremely challenging to run a business, especially with all the kind of bureaucratic red tape and the environmental and infrastructural challenges associated with kind of the bureaucratic, whatever you want to, bureaucratic, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say red tape, but I just used that. So, but yep, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I believe that there is a lot of surprises that come across small businesses in our community. Our community, and we're not just serving the 12,500 people that live here. We're serving an enormous community, a metropolitan community. We have people that come all the way from Pasco to eat at Gulfport. We have people that come all the way from Hernando County to have dinner here, to see art. It's not just servicing 12,500 people. We're servicing a huge group. And I think back to the clarity issue of what are the steps that need to be dealt with as they go along. I know that there's a business here that can't have outside seating for some strange reason. Did they fill the form out? Did they not fill the form out? What form do they need to fill out? Those are the questions. Christine, you're at retail?
That's the form. They need to have a little checklist. Do this, let's do this. If you bed that, where those, you get a no, go do this. You get a yes, do this. But we got to have some kind of checklist for every business that wants to come in. And, I know businesses are different. I am in the business of teaching children, so I would take the risk of owning a business out of somebody that's very strong to do that. But they do need a checklist to make sure they're filling out all the right things. I would advocate for the building department to do that. Hi.
Wait for this. Yep.
Again, if you open up a business or decide to open up a business in a town, the onus is on you. Does your business fit the model of the town it's in? Just because you like the town doesn't mean the business you have is going to work, and that happens sometimes in a lot of businesses that are showing up here. So you've got to know your demographics, number one. So this is not a city issue so much as a business owner situation. You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, what would I bring to the table? I would, I have a small business. I'm an entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship. That's my thing. I really have a place in my heart for it. I mean, on my left, Michael just joked that, we'll see which pizza shop survives. That is not the right mentality of a leadership. I think we should be nurturing and cultivating our small businesses because that is what makes Gulfport cool with these really mom and pops to avoid that gentrification of these larger corporate-owned chains that are really infecting St. Pete, so to speak.
Yes. We cannot blame the owners or potential owners of new businesses, and we certainly cannot blame the workers who work in these businesses. And I feel that my opponent has stated that it's about surprises. We should not give business owners a surprise. It should be clear, and like Christine said, on paper. So if there is an issue, we can remedy the issue, because sometimes we don't know. Michael, the next question will be, you will start. What are 2 ordinances on the book if you like have late enforcement for what are 2 ordinances on the books you would like to have the police enforce or enforce with them?
I wish we had more power over loose dogs, number one. That seems to be a major problem. Unfortunately, it seems to be more of a county issue, not a city issue, but I wish it was more of a city issue that we can enforce that also. There was a conversation years ago about littering, and that was also something that we don't enforce as strong as we do. We've got 32, and we're missing 7 police officers at the time, but we have 32 police officers, 4 per shift, that trying to maintain the whole city on a 24-hour basis. So I think they do a very good job considering what they have, the tools they have to work with. I really can't think of any particular ordinance I'd like to see. I take that back. We are in the process of hiring a second code enforcement personnel to work on code enforcement, and that is very important. So I'd like to see us continue working on that, making that harder for people who try to skirt around the issue on code enforcement. Can I go back on something? Am I allowed to do that real quick? No? Yes.
Yep.
I wasn't making a light of the fact that we have that I'm waiting for somebody to fail. I'm just saying is that you've got to know you got to know your demographics.
Next question.
2 ordinances that I don't think are enforced enough. Well, one is, I think, a missed opportunity. At the state level, a couple months ago, there was, it came down where we can ban cigarette butts on the beach. And I love Gulfport Beach. I think it's beautiful. I think it's super cool. And really, that attracts a lot of tourism. And I was really kind of ticked off that that was not enacted. It was said, the reason was that, we don't know how we'd enforce it. Well, New Jersey and multiple other states, according to my research, do enforce it, and their beaches have improved tenfold. Why not call those governments, see what they're doing? So that was one thing. That was a missed opportunity. Another thing would be the short-term rentals. I did identify about a year ago some software that could identify them. I know we are limited and a little bit handcuffed in what we can do as a city, but we can certainly collect business licenses and also help control the noise attributed to some of these short-term rentals.
Yeah. Yes, definitely the littering issue. We have an abundance of it on Gulfport Boulevard and 49th Street. And some of it encroaches onto, goes into about a block on each side of those major thoroughfares. And I understand that it's very hard to find somebody who's actually thrown the stuff. Maybe we could work on a program and I know that there's some programs that clean up certain sections of those streets, but maybe we could have our sanitation department pick some stuff up. I'm not quite sure how we can remedy it, but we definitely need to deal with the littering. The short-term rental thing is again problematic. We have an area where short-term rentals are supposed to be, but yet we have short-term rentals where they're not supposed to be. And Christine?
Flat. Thank you. Animal control is leaking an issue because if you watch the police department Facebook, they're finding dogs all day long and putting up who owns this dog, who owns this dog. So loose dogs are a problem, I think, and animal control is a county and state level responsibility. Gulfport cannot and address it by going to get the animal. Although they do, which is great because they find out that chip and call the owners. And our community does a great job of saying, hey, there's a loose dog, let's call the police, and they do what we can. But overall, it's the county and state level responsibility. I'd also like to talk about dogs on the beach. I wish our police department would have enough time to go out on the beach, but I know there's dogs on the beach. I worry about the feces and the waste that they leave. They're not allowed to be on the beach because who wants to walk in that and find some surprise under the sand? So I'd like to see them enforce that way.
Hey, Michael, just about biting around there.
Oh, state law prevents us from doing a lot of things. A couple of years ago, I tried to ban straws and plastic bags, and we were outlawed from the state from doing that. Short-term rentals. Again, we're putting together a program. We are hosting it. We are bringing another code enforcement person. We are putting together a program for short-term rentals, know where they are, etc. However, if you've got a short-term rental next to you, you have to call the city and let them know. State law now makes you give your name, number for code enforcement and things of that sort. So a lot of these onuses are on, unfortunately, not on the public, but from the state.
Spade, thank you. Michael, your recap.
Sorry.
Great, your recap.
Okay, so I said, what would I bring to the table? One would be, the environmental protection and looking at that ordinance and see how we could enforce it. That would for maintaining clean beaches and clean seas. That's extremely important to me, given the hospitality and tourism and environmental aspect of the city. And then short-term rentals too. We need to be, all I hear at City Hall is how parsimonious we are and how tight-walleted we are. Well, we have how many thousands of dollars in business license fees on the table because the short-term rentals aren't being collected.
Back to the short-term rentals. I absolutely agree that there's money on the table, and we need to begin processing illegal rentals. And I understand that people feel if they're not going to be fine, then it's okay, and that's not really the way it should be. We have a particular area where these homes can be rented in that way. Let's stick to that. Christine?
The short-term rentals are allowed down a certain corridor in downtown Ward 2 for any length of time, but the rest of the city, you can only do it for over 30 days and only 3 times a year. The issue is they are happening, and people do not want to give their name, so we're not knowing about it. And it's a state law, so we can't change the fact that you must give your name before playing. That is problematic, but we can't change the state law.
Okay, the next round of questions will start with you, Ray. How do you feel about providing the public with monthly communication, and how would you?
I love it. I believe in, that's one key step toward transparency. I love communicating. Part of my campaign has been sending out email newsletters, developing an entire website, gulfportforward.com. I have these things right here where you can check it and take it home if you wanted to look it out. That communication is super important. I think there was some sort of a monthly report implemented. Michael hasn't updated his in, I think, 4-5 months. Christine hasn't updated hers in, I think, 6 months. And the last update was just a repetition of a speech that she had given at a public arena of some sort. I think it's extremely important to know what's going on in council's mind, what motivates them to make these decisions, and articulate that as best as possible. And I would definitely do, weekly Zoom meetings, reports, and you can join my email newsletter as well for kind of thoughts on that.
Yeah, and your Cliff? Oh, I'm absolutely all for it. I really believe that there should be a monthly update, and not just an update, but at least weekly to tell us what is going on for the week. It doesn't have to be 10 pages long. It at least at minimum having a monthly update would be great. I know other council members do it, and in where I'm employed, I have to make a report every week on what was sold and what was not, and what went bad and what didn't. So I don't see why we couldn't do it here.
See? We do have, our city has communications with our residents, and it includes a weekly email. We send out 3,000 plus emails and a blast every week with things that are going on, city newsletter. We have a website, we have Facebook, and we have GTV. I'd also like to point out that I do respect that residents have questions, comments, concerns, or ideas. And there are many opportunities for residents to relay their thoughts. We have public comment at council meetings. We can receive emails. We can receive phone messaging. I personally am the only council member that has office hours every week on Wednesday, 3 o'clock. It is the goal of your city council to ensure that our community is a safe and enjoyable place to live, work, and play. We work with residents every day, daily, and community groups continually to find positive, impactful solutions to problems or concerns. So we are accessible.
Yeah, pretty much everything that Christine just said. Except I don't have office hours. I do have my cell phone number on my business card, so I've probably put out more business cards than anyone else on city council the last 10 years. No one when someone has a problem, they never had a problem fighting me. Let's put it that way. I get very few complaints from constituents in my ward or throughout the city. So I'm just going to have to work off the assumption that most people are happy and satisfied. As long as your garbage is picked up, your millage rate stays the same, which we have kept for the last 10 years at 4.039. Crime is down. We work with our police and fire department. People, I think, are happy. There are small complaints about this and that. Why aren't this done fast enough? Why isn't that done fast enough? But in general, I think people are very happy. If they weren't happy, they would probably be moving by now. People live in a town because they like living here. And it means the whole encompass of the whole town itself.
Okay, the 30-second recap for it.
Sure, yeah. To summarize what I was saying, I really love that communication. And, as I've been campaigning, one of the most, one of the most popular feedbacks that I've been getting is, we think City Hall is operating as a black box. They make these decisions, and we don't know what's even going through the heads of the council. And this is from people who attend meetings. To me, it's super important to find out the whys for decisions. And when I articulate that to other people as well, and I hear their feedback, and then I'm like, well, maybe I wasn't quite correct on a certain issue, and I develop and grow my own decision-making too with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Back to the simple. We were mentioning that there's been a lot of state laws placed upon us, and one of my planks in my campaign is about re-engaging our lobbying position as council members, going to Tallahassee and saying, "Hey, what about Gulfport?" I don't believe that we have anything like that going on. I know that we pay a lobbyist to do other things.
Our city council representatives, we do go to Tallahassee, we go to legislative action days, and we meet with our local state officials and try to get them to help us, which is how we got the $1.5 million for the new senior center. And we do communicate. We are there. Please. I believe I'm accessible. I do work. I mean, some of us up there don't, but I have a full-time job, and I do offer office hours. I'll let it meet with you anytime.
Michael?
Excuse me. We do go to legislative up in Tallahassee. I'm not going this year, but then again, I've been in constant contact with our state legislators, both locally and statewide, that I've been over the years, and been able to push things for Gulfport, etc. So we are in constant contact. Again, I sit on the Tampa Regional Council, which is like a United Nations of 5 or 6 counties. I sit on the economic board of these things, so as well. And you run into these people on a regular basis, and county commissioners, etc. My time is up.
Yeah, the next question will start with you. Do you believe that Gulfport needs further beautification? If so, what projects would you propose? Oh, absolutely. I believe that we should have, in areas that are bleak of that without trees. I'm a walker, so I walk all over the place, and trees are a great way to nourish our soils, as well as keeping us cool. And there's plenty of locations throughout our city that would need something like that. Also, some of the beautification tips, like putting in palm trees. I know that on occasion they can be difficult, but palm trees are very attractive, although they don't serve as a shade. Another issue would definitely be we need to mark the crosswalks a little bit better. I know that there was a remarking of the two on Gulfport Boulevard, but sorry.
Sorry. These ladies are doing a fabulous job. You can't see them, but they're smiling the whole time. Okay, it's my turn. Okay, let's go. I am committed to completing the living shoreline, which will help mitigate stormwater as well, but out there vibing on the outside of the marina. We're doing Scout Hall repairs right now that it was expected to be completed in 4 to 6 weeks. If you have never been in Scout Hall, it's a fabulous old building, and I want to preserve it. So we're really excited about those repairs coming. I'm excited about the Senior Center rebuild. We're getting a new fire trap, all of that. That's the fire front that's coming supposedly. The marina dry storage improvements, the sidewalk that we're putting down Marion Street so people can walk along the sidewalk instead of the streets, and I think it's better for handicap as well. We're doing a marina keyless gate entry system. The casino is getting a new substructure and air conditioning. This theater, we're going to get new curtains for the theater. The recreation center has a canopy for a study area, and we're putting vans lawns.
We do have an arborist in Gulfport. We are working on doing more and more foliage and things like that, trees, plants, etc. Again, we've got to be practical, folks. We've got an $11 million operating budget. So again, and we're a full-service city. So if you give too much to one section, the other section's going to move up. Somebody's going to lose something else. So it's where do you take the money? How do you take one money from one pot to the other pot, et cetera, et cetera? And those are something you have to look at. So you have to have a strong fiduciary obligation to be a city council person to watch what's happening with the budget so we don't go over budget or under budget. I should say over budget. And to take the money that you all give us, and we all give us, so we all live in Gulfport, our tax money, et cetera, and put it towards what we all need. And sometimes it's limited.
Okay, so the question was, do I think that the city should invest more in beautification? Yes, absolutely. From a ground level, more benches, more trees in the parks. I'm in Ward 2, which is the beach district, okay? So I think absolutely our beach could be way more beautiful. That's from a ground level thing. And from a more kind of expansive level, more public art installations. I make these posts on the Facebook group, the Gulfport Facebook group. Like whenever I post about public art, it gets like 500 likes with like murals. I identified a couple really nice mural opportunity areas and made some Photoshops on the Facebook. I made a video on my Instagram about this. It featured a Ray's gecko. If you put Gulfport as a location in Instagram, half the pictures are the gecko. The tourists and the visitors love it. It attracts the people here, which nurture the small businesses and really help that eclecticism of Gulfport. So I think public art and improving the public art is really a big aspect of beautification efforts.
For a sec, the recap? Sure. Also, I want to talk about bull flags needing to be replaced. I don't know if there was a replacement fund for the flags that were initially put up a number of years ago, but they're old and tattered and should be replaced. And if not replaced, then remove. And last on my list was the public art. My wife is an artist, and it would be great to see more public art installations. Ray did a fantastic job on the gecko, and we have Simek. People with Gulfport
Okay, our crews keep our parks well manicured and will look great, but we have great staff here. I want to point out what we have done, which is all the playgrounds are being replaced except for the beach one, which is underway. They all have sunshade shade sails to protect our children from harmful rays. We have Little League, we have recreation, we have programming at the library for the children, but we never invest too much in the children. And I had it. My husband saw a baby carriage that actually had baby in it.
How could I not pat my head? Of course, you're right.
Art. Many of the buildings, look, I would love to see more public art, but again, you have to take consideration. A lot of the buildings that people are renting, so it's up to the renter and the owner of the building if they can do the public art. So that's problem number one. A lot of our businesses do not own the buildings they're in. We do have public art in many of the buildings that are owned by the proprietor of that particular building. We are putting a shade flag over the Thomas Park Children's area, and that's coming. Actually, I thought it was going to be in by now. It will be in the next couple of months. And we have the wonderful gecko that Ray Domingo put together.
Michael, right? That
Yeah, just to summarize, city beautification is something I am very passionate about. I go into detail on my website, Gulfport Forward, about various ideas. It extends beyond public art, extends beyond improving sidewalks, extends beyond grooming the sand on the beach to look nicer and more aesthetic. It's something I'm really passionate about. So yeah.
Okay, Christine, the next your question. Do you believe Gulfport has enough tax revenue to eat? Do you believe Gulfport has enough tax revenue to support me?
Yes, I do. We have a full Soda City. We have police, fire, public works, library, recreation, Senior Center, Marina, Playground, Beach, Theater, Casino, Community Development, 12,000 plus or minus residents, 68 miles of roads, 32 miles of alley, and recreational fields and more than a dozen. Penny for Canales, we have a $23 million reserve. So yes, we can do a great job. We have a conservative budget that is balanced every year through our.
All right, Michael.
Again, I'm going to have to go back to what Christine just said, because I've got the same numbers as she does, but again, we have not raised our millage rate in the last 10 years. We're still at 4.039. Nobody wants to see their ad valorem tax go up. As housing prices increases, we are still trying to make up for a lot of what happened in 2008 when we had the Depression. So a few years ago, we finally get caught up on the budget situation. And with that, we are improving more and more stuff on a regular basis.
Okay, so the question was, does the city have enough tax revenue to cover, all its stuff? No, it doesn't. All I hear about City Hall is how parsimonious they are. They don't want to spend money on lots of improvement. Even if you look at the public art, the water fountain by the pier was not kept up for a long time. That being said, I don't think the way to get more revenue is by increasing property taxes. I think we have to rethink how to generate revenue to fund some of these really cool projects. A lot would be monetizing city events. We have these really great city events. Why not monetize the alcohol sales and get a cut of the alcohol sales at let's say the Gecko Fest? I have a lot of ideas on monetizing other types of events on my website, and this would increase revenue without increasing taxes. And I mean, and that would fund growth and projects. Thank you.
Yeah. As simple answer is yes. We provide an enormous amount. We are a full service city. We provide an enormous amount of items and departments, and we come out with a balanced budget at the end of the year. Yes, and we have overage. I don't remember what the number that you just said were. 23 million. I think maybe we're doing a great job economically, and no, I don't believe that we should add taxes or increase our military. Well, I'm sorry, 23%. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. That's my answer. Okay, Christine, a 30-second recap.
Yeah. We are fiscally responsible. Our goal is to provide the resident the superior level of day-to-day services to which they have become accustomed. I'm devoted to ensuring our financial stability, the stability to safeguard Gulfport unique identity as a full-service city for the vendors who call for space their home. Having a full-service city is not common, and we are doing it very well. We have great staff. Everything's going well. I don't agree with raising the millage. I prefer to seek grant funding for.
We get a lot of money from grants, and we have a staff. Even though we don't have a grant writer, our staff does a phenomenal job in trying to get us grant money on a regular basis. We keep that reserve, that $23 million in reserve. I'm sorry, $23 million in reserve, and that I think we were supposed to keep 20 million. We keep the 23 million. We keep $3 million more of that for the reserve situation. That's in case of an emergency. But I am not in favor of raising our taxes or anything of that sort of thing.
I'm sorry, it's my fault that keeps saying 23 million. I said it, but it's 20%.
The 23%.
I'm sorry.
My mistake. Great.
Yeah, I guess in reply to everyone who's, my colleagues on the left and right who say that we have enough money, why are the police the lowest paid in the county other than laymen? I mean, why do we not have sidewalks in half the city, especially in downtown area? I mean, why? If we have so much money and the budget is such a surplus, how come we're not spending it then?
Yeah. Oh, I agree that we should be spending money on implementing projects that need to be implemented, paying our staff, and definitely giving a raise to the police department. And that 23% is, I mean, we're not a business per se. We are a municipality, and I believe that we should be spending our money on these particular projects and on our employees. Okay, Michael, the next question starts with you. Then you cite some examples of your current outreach efforts to local business owners to measure their needs. You get also the help of our local economy.
I have talked to many of the businesses on 49th Street, on 8th Avenue, 9th Avenue, downtown, etc., and I go in on a regular basis to talk to them and find out what's going on. I get very few complaints. In fact, I get no complaints, actually. I've got a lot of support, actually, from many of the businesses on 49th Street, on 8th Avenue, 9th Avenue, etc., and downtown. So that's the best I can go with. I mean, I'm doing the best I possibly could do and try to stay on top of this as business owners. Again, with small business owner, I understand the problems that you have being a business owner and what it takes on a day-to-day business, and it's not easy. You got employee costs, you got taxes, you got insurance and things of this sort. It's a matter of making the town beautiful so people want to come to Gulfport in order to spend money at Gulfport. So that's what we're doing.
All right, so what has been my small business outreach? Well, part of my campaigning was just going up and down beach and, going to stores over the weekend and, introducing myself or whatnot. It's fun to talk shop. Really, the biggest complaints I hear are the same ones we've heard over and over again. Parking. I mean, businesses are saying other employees are parking in front of their business, which then cuts, tourists and visitors and shoppers and cuts that. Workers, we are experiencing a huge worker shortage. It's tough to hire good people who stay, really tough. And then increasing visitors. That is a big thing too. I mean, what business is not going to want more visitors who can buy food, can buy little trinkets, and all of that?
Ian, John, could you repeat the question, please? Yeah. Can you cite some examples of your current outreach efforts to local business owners to measure needs, yet a pulse of the economy? Well, I 2 years ago when I ran, I knocked on every business's door, and this time I've knocked on majority of the businesses on 49th Street and the upper end, ones that did answer. I've phoned some people, And I believe that I don't believe that the businesses are having necessarily any issues with the city or the economy. It's larger than what Gulfport can offer them. You know, I hear every day about inflation, and so that's kind of what we're talking about. It's more of a larger national issue than it is a local Gulfport thing. If you're speaking specifically about the economy of Gulf. Christine?
Thank you. I do want to point out that So 49 is the business advocate for the 49th Street corridor. I still believe that we have some opportunities there, but I would like to point out what the city has done to help the businesses in the downtown district. We did the Gecko Art Festival art project. We did Beach Boulevard decorative tree lighting replacement, beach parking lot improvement, Caldwell water fountain rehabilitation. Casino bathrooms were remodeled, the casino that contained in and out and a new bar area. Casino floating dock, recreation center area sunshade. I would say Planet was his shade sales. Recreational center fitness center. The skate park, shore boulevard improvements with decorative lighting and waterfront amenities with new garbage cans and water fountains. And we are rehabilitating Williams Pier. I'd like to rebuild it someday. And we extend the pavers for the vendors for the festivals at the Gulfport Merchant Foot.
Michael, the 30-second recap.
During COVID, the mayor brought forward, and the rest of us voted for it. We put out the coupons, many of you got in the mail, and unless it was $25 or $50 where you had to spend it at a local business. Businesses loved it. Many of the businesses made a lot of money. People were happy. So we try to do things like that whenever possible that we have within our preview of what we could possibly do. And again, I stay in touch with many of the businesses, both on Beach and especially at 49th Street in my ward. And
to summarize, the local business outreach, mostly on Beach, has been the favorite part of my campaign, not least because, unlike residential homes, the door hasn't been slammed in my face yet. But that's besides the point. I believe the GMA is also putting this on. One of the things that also came across, and what I would do is strengthen the partnership between the city and the GMA as well, whether through funding or whether through shared resources like public relations and all of that.
Back to what I initially said, that the city does work well together with the businesses. It's the question of what are they going to do with new businesses, the current established businesses and the city of Gulfport, from what I understand, work well together. Christine?
Point out about So 49, which is the advocate for the businesses along 49th Street. There is a car show at Tangerine at Charles Market Square this weekend. It's always fun to go to the car show. There'll be lots of great cars. And so I'm putting a plug in for them so you will come out and the weather's so great and you'll have a great.
All right, before we go on to the next question, I'd just like to remind everyone that we are now at our very the Gulfport Merchants Chamber, VRC. Thank you. All right, Greg, the next question's for you. Where you start? What is your view of a multi-level parking garage?
They're ugly.
Ian? Definitely ugly and unnecessary.
So you guys are not using your time. Okay. Ready? All right. So parking is important. It's important to maintain a balance between the residents and the businesses. We're proud of our successful businesses and respectful of our neighborhood. It's a fluid issue. Parking ongoing, and we continually analyze our popularity. The city has been an active participant in the summation process. We have satellite parking areas. We have a brand new short bus trolley for events. It's a new smaller bus, so it's just been wrapped with this beautiful, come to Gulfport theme. And we have beautiful signage created by local artists to direct you to where parking is. The beach parking lot was redesigned. That was the first project I ever started on my first day. That's what I wanted to do, was do that. More parking spaces. It added more. East Shore Boulevard design added more. We counted it added parking space and not need a building. The lots next to their house. You don't want a parking structure.
I hope.
Well, they're ugly where we want to put it. We don't have any land for it. We are one of the densest cities, if not the densest city of Pinellas County. So again, we have limitations on what we can and can't do. We can all sit up here and have a wish list of what we'd like to do. The limitations between locations, except demographics of what we can do. So parking, I think it was pointed out a lot of times ago, it's not that we have a parking problem, it's we have a parking problem that we don't have a parking place where you want to go, where you want to be. Again, the GMC and others have done a great job of bringing tourists and locals, people to come to Gulfport, and we were a victim of our own success in a way. If you go back 10, 15 years ago, we did not have a parking problem at Gulfport, folks. Suddenly we have a parking problem. So I think there's little we could do about it, except for maybe some people would come in. I think Pia has got a parking lot for their parking now. There are certain things we possibly could do if you would bring it forward to City Council.
Brady, I'm not sure you can short your answer, but
I might be able to be a little longer. No, parking is a challenge, but a multi-level parking garage is probably the last recourse to do. I imagine a lot more better and simpler and cheaper options, from even just painting parking lines on the side streets to clearly distinguish what's parking, what's not. Because I've seen some crazy stuff on the side streets. So.
man, well, and we have to stick to the issue, to the question, so I can't really talk about anything else. So back to the very simple answer: no parking garage. It's intrusive and ugly. And do we have a parking problem? Some people say we do. Some people say we don't. I don't have an issue with parking because I walk. Christine?
Okay, a new idea, one new idea, because it is an ever-changing situation, is to continually review the overall situation and examine what's working and what's not. I think that the GMC routinely releases a map in conjunction with their scheduled events to show where parking is. It's online, it's on social media, and the GAVR also directs drivers to parking areas during the events. So those are some simple solutions besides walking. But then during for our visitors coming to town. So we don't want a garage. We don't want a garage.
We don't want a garage. You've got parking at the library when the library is not in business. You've got parking at the senior center. Again, these are not convenient sometimes for if you want to go to a Manny's or something like that. But again, you name a city around Pinellas County or any place else that does not have a parking problem. You go to St. Pete Beach, you drive around for an hour looking for a place to park. So we all have parking problems. We are a victim of our own success. We're getting better.
Okay, again, the next question starts with you. How is Gulfport going to reach out to residents who aren't retired, middle class? In other words, where are the working young families in your plan? Can you repeat that one more time? Basically, where are the young working class families in your plan for Gulfport? Oh, well, that is Gulfport. I mean, majority of residents of Gulfport are working class families, married couples of all sexes. That's essentially a word for it. And they work every day, do their 12-hour days. They come home and eat dinner, and they play with their children or their fur babies, and they go to bed. And that's the majority of Gulfport. You know, we always see Beach Boulevard full, but it's usually full of the same group of people who are absolutely wonderful, but that's not what Gulfport is. Gulfport represents a really mixed culture of individuals, and that's what I have to say. Christine?
Question. I teach those children every day. Many of them come from our neighborhoods, although some of them are from outside of Gulfport. What were they doing outside of Gulfport? We have so many things to reach the children. We have the rec center, which is open for the convenience of the working parent. It's open in the summer for the convenience of the working parent, and we are always full at the rec center. We have programming at the library, then you have tot time at the rec center. We have the teen council, which has always been in existence as long as I've been here. My daughter was on it at one time. We have a lot of things for our children. Little League is a big deal. We had a great Little League supervisor who is a former Major League Blue Jay. So sorry, his name is escaping me. But he takes care of our Little League. We have lots of active things for our children, and that is the basis for our community, I think.
Michael?
The city's gone through a transition over back in the 50s and 60s. This was a very family-oriented town. In the 70s and 80s, things changed a little, and now we're coming back. If you look at Ward 4, we're getting a lot of new families coming in with young kids, a lot of younger people, younger generation, but I guess Generation X or whatever you want to call those generations these days, I don't know. But we're getting more and more people coming in. We've got Thomason Park in Ward 4. We've got the equipment over there, the workout equipment. We've got the playgrounds. We've got the rec center. So I think we're working on getting more and more things for young people and other people. I've always been trying to do more of a diversity. There are some programs that I voted for that were very upsetting to some people. But again, I don't believe we live in a retirement community. So we've got to get out there and hopefully try to bring in new ideas and new events that are coming into Gulfport that appeal to everybody, racially, economically, age-wise, etc.
Great. All right, so I think the question was, what are we doing to kind of attract and bring, okay, young families, okay. All right, I think, three-pronged strategy just off the top of my mind. One is leverage what we got now, okay? We have the volleyball. The millennials love the volleyball. Most of those guys don't live in Gulfport. Let's market to them in a kind of unobtrusive way. Hey, this is what Gulfport has to bring. Let's get you in here, okay? Leverage those relationships and see what that goes. Number two is events. We have the Gecko Fest. We have these arts events pretty frequently. Let's set up a welcome desk over there and really, take some of the marketing material and kind of jazz it up a little bit to make it a little bit more appealing to younger generations. And then we can, we do a soft sell on that. Number three is social. Okay, Instagram. Like it or not, the social media, TikTok, Instagram is what, first raises awareness to younger families and the ones beyond that. Okay, I already mentioned people love the Gecko, okay, and it's all over the map on the web, and we need, to leverage those relationships more for the network effects.
In the 30-second recap? Yeah, I'd like to go back to what Christine said. So we have a great recreation center. We have an incredible library. Again, I don't know when it was the number one library in Florida, but it was it's a fantastic library. We have everything that a family would possibly need. So I think we're doing a great job, and maybe we should market towards that crowd. I don't know if that is a possibility. Christine?
We're considered a community of a lifetime, cradle to grave. We have programming and things for our little children all the way through to our senior center. The senior center, oh my gosh, if you haven't been there, it's a total hub of activity. But we have everything for everybody. All you have to do is come and get it. It's there.
Michael?
Well, I think I pretty much said it right. We have numerous ball fields in this county, and again, we got a little league. And we don't have a lot of kids from Gulfport yet are participating, but hopefully more and more families, more and more families move in, we'll get more and more people from the Gulfport area to participate in the Little League as well. We do it, again, as Christine pointed out, we've got a fantastic senior center. We have the largest, I believe, and Susan can tell me on this, we have the largest LGBTQ resource center in the country, or we have one of the best, if not the largest. We got an award of that last year from University of Michigan. We beat up the University of Michigan, I believe, on the Resource Center.
Okay. Again, just to summarize what we could do to bring in younger generations. Well, not to toot my own horn, but you could elect me as kind of, the face of younger people. Admittedly, I am a little bit more introverted than extroverted, but I can get out there, if the job calls for it.
Okay, Dan, we have about a half hour, so we wrap up with your final statement. So proceeding to the next question, you start. Since the city is running a budget surplus, are there any plans to distribute these funds to the community to benefit residents and businesses?
Thanks for the question. I think it's kind of like a state law. We have to have the reserves, and so we can't use them. So in case of a catastrophic emergency, a hurricane, we need to have that money to help rebuild. So we're not allowed to use that money. But I would like to share with you how we used the COVID money, which was $6.1 million that we received from the COVID lockdown situation. We had private water line and private lateral replacement programs, the premium pay for our essential workers, our firefighters, our police officers that worked through the COVID, and we got premium pay for them. We have all the manholes, as Michael stated, the COVID gateway grant for businesses to help the businesses, as well as the COVID rebound grant for residents to use at businesses. These two programs suggested by Mayor Stan Henderson was an equitable way to use the COVID funds to help everybody. We did lift station improvements. We have public Wi-Fi project improvements, electronic water. Okay, I'll finish.
Michael?
Our surplus is based, again, I've been a favor of trying to put a lot of money into what I call the non-sexy stuff. And again, I'm going to go back again for the third time. Sewers, sidewalks, streets, etc. If we don't maintain this, if we don't improve these, and right now we're working on a program to find our sidewalks. A lot of them have been grassed over, and we are pretty good at our program on that. We're currently working on a watershed management stormwater master plan, which will include vulnerability, water equipment, water quality element, and complete mapping of our cities of infrastructure. We're working on 3,200 data log water meters, which we got a ARPA grant of funds to build the city out with new water meters for $800,000. The shaded Thomas and Park. So we're not sitting on the money. We're actually putting it into things. We just don't put it into things that sometimes the public can see. But everything we put it into is all that the residents have called for.
Okay, Christine, the next question is for you.
I just got.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, I didn't catch the original question. What would I do with the surplus? Oh, yeah. This is a good question. So I think one of the things I do is probably get all the department, heads and of the various departments, whether it's parks, whether it's rec center, whether it's whatever, and be like, okay, here's $1 million. Give me your top 3 ideas, and don't say, repave the sidewalks or something. Don't say something, silly. Give me big ideas. Something that you think would be amazing, something that would make your department, super cool. That'd be the first thing that I would do for that surplus is, hey, let's give the specialists the opportunity and the opportunity to present their ideas for something big, something great, okay? And that's what I would do with the surplus. Although I can't say I'd necessarily agree with their ideas. That'd just be a starting point.
Bien? Yes. I want to bring it back to the point of what Christine said. I believe that the state statute is 20%, which means that we have a leftover 3% that could be used for other projects. And maybe those projects, again, like Michael stated earlier, are not pretty projects. But I really believe that we really should focus some time and some energy on the police department and the fire, and see if we can gain from that. I mean, these men and women work incredibly hard for us and protect us, and and keep us safe. Okay, there's set right there.
The reason why, one of the reasons why that the police are at the lower end of the pay scale is because they negotiate every 3 years. So we were up here, and now these departments have negotiated above us, and we've fallen back, and then the next 3 years. So it does need some work, but it's not that we don't care about them. We do have new pickleball court and tennis court projects, stormwater management plan, which I wish we had time to talk about, is the resiliency vulnerability assessment, which we are getting ready to have. What did you say? Oh, the sewers aren't pretty, and he's right about that.
Thank you, Christine. Top, I thought.
That 23% that we keep talking about, if we have a major storm like we had down south, that basically going to help keep our fire and police and our employees going. That's not going to do much more of that. So that money's there to help us or help the city maintain itself in case we do have a major function. The state says we have to keep 20%. We keep, I think it's pointed out 23%. We're talking a couple $1 million more. But again, that's to help the employees if we do have.
Just to summarize, no, I really think it's important to, empower the department heads to be integrated in some sort of decision making on how to spend the surplus. And my really sincerest hope is that they would have some really great, grand ideas that they've been kind of, holding back due to budget constraints, that they could really, shed light and help come up with some great ways to spend, a surplus.
Ian? Yes, I understand that the 20% is for safety after a storm, or projects after a storm, but still have 3% over the 20, and why not reinvest that into our community? I don't see why we can't do that. And again, the COVID money was well so.
No. True, it's just called voting. I've been opposed to term limits before I got on city council. I'm opposed to now on city council. People want change, they vote. They don't. Apparently, they felt comfortable so far because some of us keep getting got reelected. But no, I think if you want change, you vote. Turlo's stops continuity, number one. That's problem number one. You've got to have continuity in government. Without that, you have a total disaster on your hands. And term limits, I do think prevent that, both in the state house and on local governments.
Yes, I'm a big proponent of term limits. I think there should be 3 terms, and I also think that the term should be 3 years instead of 2 years. And I would try and do my hardest to get them a referendum should I be elected. In answer to Michael's points about continuity, okay, if the new person stinks, well, you know what? They're not going to get reelected, And there's also lots of other structural devices to ensure continuity from the city staff, from city management, and a staggered. The other positions are staggered. Not everyone's elected the same year. And then also, in response to the competition argument, the incumbents share a huge home team advantage, not least from the endorsements from all the people, because the better the W&L. All of that, and also, the roots from growing from those political connections through just 2-3 years, however many years you were, are really hard to fight against.
Then, no to term limits, and I have an idea about this, largely because it's always been a small pool of people who do this. So then that means that you're going to limit a pool of individuals. We've seen that in other smaller communities in Pinellas, where now there are vacancies that they cannot fill. It does disturb continuity. I believe, though, that the staff should be a semblance of continuity for the city, but it comes down to the fact that it's a very small group of people that run. Christine?
That one. I was waiting for you to finish your words. I understand they're not wanting you, though. Okay. I don't believe in term limits. No, I'm here because I care about our city. I care about my resident. I care about preserving the Gulfport feel that you moved here because of. We moved here because we loved it, and I want to preserve that. And I don't want to stay here forever. I don't want to be up here forever, but I want to make sure that I'm protecting you and your city and what you become accustomed to. Okay. These are my points. I'm worried about property values, playgrounds, parks, potholes, preservation, and people. Those are my 6 P's that I try to keep on my mind so that I make sure I'm looking out for the Gulfport that you want. And I don't think that we want to have a big change. I think we want to stay the way we are because you loved it when you moved here. I want to keep it that way. So I'd like to keep serving until I'm not.
I thought there's separate step.
I try to bring change the structure as far as 2 years versus 3 years, etc. On the council a couple of months ago or last year, and got voted down on that. So I was in favor of trying to extend it, not to keep myself in office longer, but because it does give you a little bit longer time to work on the projects you're on. My number one issue has always been constituent issues. I've never had an agenda. I take each issue as it comes. I don't belong to any particular group that has an agenda. Yes, never mind.
Okay, yes, I'm a big proponent of term limits. I would get that on referendum, and I would try my hardest to do that. Another response and argument is, I think if you're 3, 4, 5 terms in, I'd be asking, how come you're not dreaming bigger? I mean, how come you to make a bigger impact? How come you're not looking at a county position to make a bigger impact and to benefit the community more through all the funds trickling down? And that would be a really response to mine is what's the next step after 4 years? Why are you not trying to even make a bigger social impact?
Bien? Well, back to my answer is no. Again, it's a small pool of individuals. So we would be regurgitating the same group of people over and over and over again. And elections are the process of eliminating people from office. You get out, you vote, and you either vote to keep the incumbent in or you vote to remove the incumbent. That's how the system works. You see?
This is my 30 minute. Get out and vote. That's how you keep the people that you like. Did anybody know when voting day is? March 14th. What is that, mathematically speaking? It's Pi Day. I'm a mathematician. My birthday is Pi Day. My room number at Bogey is Pi. It's 14. Let's get out and vote on March 14th.
With that in mind, also, if there's anyone new in the audience, even though the council members represent HIPAA wards, we vote for 1% of each ward in Illinois. All right, great. The next question is for you. With the rundown eyesore properties with caution the out, etc., what can the city council do and what can the community do to help?
With rundown properties, what can the city do? Well, there's the code enforcement mechanism. So would that be, I guess, then you would ask, well, is it effective? Is it ineffective? If it's ineffective, why is it ineffective? Those would be the questions to ask. If code enforcement is not effective, why are they not effective? That's on the one hand. On the other hand, what's also the limit? I moved to the city rather than, the Pasadena Yacht Club because I don't like HOAs, and they're too restrictive. So where is the balance also? And that's a good, question to ponder as well. But in terms of rundown properties, definitely, why are they not being addressed? I think is one of the first principles to question.
Yeah, very simply. We have quote code enforcement. and we need to step up to the plate and do our code enforcement, no matter who owns it. Now we are a great community who can go out and help individuals if they're unable to pay, if they're elderly. Well, we've seen it done thousands of times here in the city, and we have community groups who are able to do these things for individuals who are at risk. But if these are not people who are at risk, and these are largely owned by corporations or other things, or large investment firms, then they should be able to afford to fix their place. If it's an abandoned property, there is codes for that. We just need to begin to follow laws and the codes that we put on ourselves. If not, why do we have them?
Christine? Every month, the code enforcement dedicates its resources to one ward. However, complaints are priority. So if they get a complaint, they go right there. We did, or we just start going to hiring a code enforcement officer. One thing that is the deterrent is you got to give your name. You can't report it if you don't give your name. That's a state law. Let me see. So sometimes it could be the backstory that we don't know. Why is it run down? Grandma stepped a horn in the home and nobody's there to take care of the house. So, and I think that our code enforcement guy that I do know is extremely compassionate, and he will go out and help and try to find out what the backstory is before doing anything, and try to get this person help if that is something. The health and safety of each resident is on the forefront. So if it is a house that's deteriorating and somebody's living in it, and that is a health and safety issue, we need to do an intervention.
We are working on getting a second code enforcement person. A lot of things, one of the houses that were run down 10 years ago, etc., are market driven now. They're getting renovated. They're moving on because our prices are going up. The rents are going up, and therefore people are trying to improve their properties. So that's another thing. Keeping the city viable so people want to improve their properties. And again, I'm going to go back to infrastructure for the fifth time. We are doing things to make the people want to improve their properties, and the market is driving these homes to improve. But again, as Christine pointed out, if there are issues with somebody unable to do something, there are ways to try to help them fix up their property or what the case may be. The state has made it necessary that if you do report a problem or you have a problem with your neighbor next door, you have to call. If you call the city, you have to leave your name and number, etc.
Yeah, there's a recap to it.
Sure. After thinking about the question a little bit more, I think what it might be kind of hinting at is what do we do about, these derelict properties that could be used for housing instead, but are just sitting there, like that ugly green thing on shore. I'm a big proponent. I follow this kind of, it's not underground, but, a social group called Strong Towns, where they kind of, one of the things that they have to incentivize development for unproductive properties is to kind of levy a fine if it's just sitting there and when it could be used for housing, but it's just vacant and blight instead. So that'd be, an alternate perspective.
Yes. Like I said earlier, we need to recognize the codes that they currently have. We need to enforce them. If somebody's in violation, let's violate. And we also have to recognize the situation of the homeowner. If the homeowner is old and unable to deal with it, or sick, then there's a different remedy, which is a community-based remedy. But I don't think that's the issue with some of these blighted properties across our city. Christine?
Effective code enforcement is a result of a partnership between residents and code enforcement with the goal to maintain minimum housing standards while allowing residents their freedom to express their individuality through the way they choose to live. We may not like, and it may not be appealing to us, but they're allowed to do what they want. And like Ian said, the problem, we have to violate them or at least find out what the backstory is so we can talk to them.
Michael?
There's a strong, I'm trying to remember the right word, strong privacy issue in the state. So again, someone has a building that we don't like or we find it to be distressful or that thing, they certainly have certain rights. There is a thing called the Inheritance Act in the state, which is very strong, which prevents us from taking a property or trying to change a property. I can explain that further when I have more time after this is over. But the Inheritance Act prevents us from doing a lot of things as well, because if we try to go in and change something, they can say, well, you're preventing us from. All right.
Okay, and the next question starts with you. What is your stance on the legalization of Airbnbs and the expansion of the permitted area? Can you repeat that one more? What is your stance on the legalization of Airbnbs and the expansion of the permitted area? Well, I'm all for Airbnbs. The issue is that we have situated an area between 56 and 54th, and below, I believe the street that's over here, and that's where they are. That's where the Airbnbs belong, and that's where they should be. Now, if the population of our city wants to expand them, well, that's a different story. I really believe that that's one of the markers for the unaffordability issue that we are coming across right now, is this potential expanse on Airbnbs and the like. I really think that we need to focus in. We had made a plan years ago on this is going to be the area, and I really think that we need to enforce that. Christine?
Okay. We do allow vacation rentals in certain areas of our city, and like I said before, the rest of the city can do it as long as it's 30 days or more, 3 times a year. I served on the Florida League of Cities Urban Administration Committee, and every single year, vacation rentals was the #1 priority for that committee. We are grandfathered in. If we so much as change a period to a comma, we have lost all control of Airbnb. The state will come in and will be following their rules, which are real lenient. So we can't alter our ordinance in any way. There must be a delicate balance between residents and the vacation rental property. Without regulations, our residents are robbed of the quiet enjoyment of their home. The risk to expanding short-term rentals is the commercialization of our neighborhoods.
I am not in favor of extending the Airbnb area. Well, again, it's been pointed out, we have a certain particular area, and that's the area that you need to be in. If you have an Airbnb next to you and it's not supposed to be there, please call the city so we can take care of that situation. But again, you have to, because the state requires these things, our hands are tied on what we can and cannot do. That's why you have to leave your name, number, and you have to be willing to testify about the Airbnb causing a problem. And a lot of people don't want to do that. But again, that's not the city, that's the state requirement to do that. And as Christine pointed out, we cannot change a comma, period, or anything else, or then we fall into another problem with the Airbnb. So I'm not in favor of limit. I'm not in favor of expanding the area. I am in favor of getting our code enforcement going and our new software that we're trying to put in to help us identify what these Airbnbs are and work out how to solve these problems.
All right, so I think the question was the legalization of Airbnbs. First off, let me say I'd much rather see all the Airbnbs right now be put to long-term housing for workers and artists and other kind of cultural creators who are getting priced out, but instead that housing is going to tourism. Now, that being said, that's also indicative that, there is this huge demand for people who want to visit Gulfport. And, we have very limited options in terms of the Airbnb, the regular B&Bs. So it begs the question, where do these people go and what do we do to address this demand for the people who do want a vacation here? I don't think Airbnbs is the issue, but it also begs the question, where do we put these? Where do we put the people who want to visit Gulfport? Finally, that's my answer for that.
There's to separate that. Yes. So notice that we're blaming Tallahassee. And this is one of my points: is that we need to begin lobbying Tallahassee to kind of roll back some of these crazy handcuff rules that they've placed upon us. And again, there's a way to do this, and no, I'm fundamentally against expansion of Airbnbs, and I think that we need to follow code enforcement. Christine?
A delicate balance, and I think we kind of do that. I think it works well. Home rule is what happens when we go to Tallahassee for legislative action day and advocate for let us home, and the people in Tallahassee take away our rights as far as making rules in our own city. We fight for that every time we go up there and have for 10 years. Oh, I think that Airbnbs at the legislative level is a fight between realtors and hotels.
We have a state lobbyist, but state legislature, quite frankly, could care less about the rule. That's the reality, folks. We've been arguing on the Florida League of Cities for the last 10 years, or if not longer, on home rule. And every time the legislature meets, they keep taking away more and more of our home rules. So they're not listening, and they don't want to listen. And unfortunately, there's not very little all the city can do about it. If you look at the beach, if you look at the cities on the beaches, Pinellas, St. Pete.
Was the
Oh, yeah, just to summarize my stance on legalization of Airbnbs, again, I'd much rather see that as long-term housing instead of short-term rentals. But I also think that the demand and the proliferation of them is indicative of people wanting to come visit Gulfport, which is amazing and really good. And if we ban them, where do we put these people? I'd love to see, definitely not a Marriott or something like that, but, can the Peninsula Inn and a few other B&Bs support these visitors too? So it's a complicated issue.
Okay, this will be the last question. We're running out of time. Christine, you started. What are your thoughts on a solution for the homeless presence down at the beach and Veterans Park?
Okay. So, are you ready? Okay. We're happy to announce that the City of Gulfport is going to be sharing and the cost and with Treasure Island of a homeless outreach social work that is started and it should be beginning soon, which is great news. Our city always starts from a position of compassion, which you got to figure out where the people have been and what they've been through, and are they mentally ill? We're always compassionate. And as far as preventative measures, our parks are closed at midnight, so we were trying to curtail it. Our parks are closed at midnight. The beach pavilions now have a time limit on it. We may see folks in our community who choose to live a different way than we are, but which was a fine line between the regulation and compassion, and we're going to err on the side of compassion. And I know I've seen our community out there, because I think Charles got like 17 Thanksgiving dinner at this math. I need that.
All the way. It sounds like we're pushing the thing to another group again. But the Supreme Court has said there's nothing we can do about homeless. That's number one. So we cannot remove people just because they're homeless. We have changed to beach pavilion times to prevent people from sleeping overnight. We have our regulations in our parks. We do have time. The social worker that we're coming in with Safety Beach is going to be helpful. Again, I'm going to bring this back to the public. People are feeding. We have a gentleman that we all know, Charles, that's over at the 49th Street neighborhood. People feed him. He's got 2 cell phones. He's got more clothes than I do. And it's not that people are. I'm not trying to say people should not be compassionate towards this gentleman, but if you keep feeding people and you keep giving them things, why do they want to leave? He has been asked numerous times by the city manager, the police chief, the fire chief, etc., would he like to go to a shelter, etc., and he's very happy here.
Yeah. With homelessness, I think it's important to differentiate street homelessness, which is, attributed, street homelessness is from, let's say, economic homelessness or domestic violence homelessness. I believe the economic homelessness, someone temporarily out of a job or victim of domestic violence, I think we should afford multiple resources. With street homelessness, that's maybe either due to mental health or substance abuse. I think we need to take a little bit closer look at that. I know I see Karen Love in the front row over here. I know she's been harassed multiple times from her Facebook posts, at least. And I know my wife won't even walk the dogs downtown. We have 2 dogs, so we're 60 pounds each. Ahead of them. And it's great. I applaud the city for getting a social worker. But why? Why did it take 2 years? Why did it take 2 years? The Charles saga was 18 months ago. There's been, and all the other reports have been way more recent and further back than that too.
Yes, the homeless issue. It was wonderful to hear about the social worker. I think this is a great idea. What Greg said is absolutely spot on. Why did it take for me? We've had the homeless issue on again, off again for over a decade. And why was this not talked about years ago? And again, yes, we are a compassionate community. But there's a point where we need to deal with the actual problem. Most of the particular individuals that we had here are suffering from mental illness or some sort of substance abuse, either drug or alcohol. And the social worker and the police department, I've seen the police department do a magnificent job trying to get these individuals to a safe place. And I think that the social worker will do the same. Christine, very separate.
I was going to say the police department, especially during the cold evenings or days, whenever they go and check on them, then offer them services, they offer them rides, they offer them resources, and it's not against the law to be homeless. And this is the way they are choosing to live. And we've done what we can as far as regulating where they can be and how long they can be, and I think the social worker will be a great solution. But the against the law and the PD does cut.
I'm a first supporter of our police department, and one of the reasons I got the PBA endorsement yesterday. Our police does do a fantastic job, but again, we have certain limitations due to laws, Supreme Court laws, etc., that we can able to do. Yes, we do, and again, as long as people keep helping everyone, and I'm not suggesting we don't help the homeless if necessary. A lot of them are there for drugs, alcohol, etc. We're enabling, and people, if you enable people, then
street homelessness is only going to get worse. It's one of those negative effects of the explosive St. Pete growth. I mean, what they see Gulfport is quieter, less bothersome. They come over here and then they tell some of their friends it's going to get worse. And what do we do if this social worker isn't effective? How long do we have to wait? Another 2 years? Another 3 years? I would be 100% more proactive and not wait 5 years to look at solutions.
Dan? Yeah, I really hope that there are safeguards in reference to what Greg just brought up, which is this. If there hasn't been anything created by this particular social worker, if there hasn't been any advancements, I really think that we should move on to another step, or there has to be a way of dealing with this. And I understand that if the homelessness is not a crime, but still, if there's an issue of safety for our community. Since we have run out of time for questions, we will now turn it over for each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. And Michael, yours the next time.
I've had the pleasure of being endorsed by Mayor Sam Henderson, State Senator Gerald Rasan, County Commissioner Renee Flowers, numerous people from St. Pete Beach, from St. Pete, and many of the mayors on the islands. You don't get endorsements because they like you. And I'm not known as being warm and fuzzy. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that one. But you get endorsements because you get things done, because you have a working relationship with them, and you get on committees throughout the county, throughout the state, and you work with them on issues. Sometimes we can fix the issues, sometimes we cannot fix the issues. I would appreciate your vote and support. I'd like to continue doing what I've been doing, which is working on infrastructure and working on constituent issues. Again, my name is Michael Ferdowich. I would appreciate the vote on March 14th. Bye.
Okay, why would you vote for me? What would I bring to the table? I think ideologically and platform-based, so I think we've covered most of the issues that I think are important to me. But I think more importantly, it's a fresh perspective. I articulate my decision-making really well. I love talking about it. I have new ideas and really a fresh perspective. Right now, what you get in city council, you get Michael, Christine, and Sam always voting the same. Well, not always, but 9 out of 10 times voting the same direction. You have April, who's going to do her own thing, and then you have Paul, who's a swing vote. With me, you'd get a swing vote. If you're looking for change and you're looking for forward progress, but of course it's tempered. I have very moderate views, I believe. That's why you'd vote for me. Because, you want to see something different. You're sick of hearing that's the way we've always done things. That's really why I am running. On some of my grassroots advocacy thing, whether it's changing the skate park rules so my 6-year-old could ride his bicycle on it, whether looking at some sort of street and street design and improving the sidewalks outside my home on 31st Street. Every time I brought anything up, that's the way we've always done things. That's the way we've always done things. I'm sick of hearing that. And if you're sick of hearing that too, about campaigning, has been talking one-on-one with all of you and really kind of listening to your motivations, what's brought you here, and really, your life story and how we could, better that as neighbors within a community. So thank you.
Ian? Well, my name is Ian O'Hara. I'd like your vote on March 14th.
April's good.
Yeah, April's good. Anyway, my ideas are this, and it's CLC, clarity, lobbying, and communication. I have new ideas, but it's not my ideas that we need to talk about. It's your ideas. We need to have community activity. Every voice counts, and that's something that we don't see largely from my opponents. We need, and that's where the new ideas are. I'm not the guy who's creating the new ideas. You are as a group. You are as a community. And remember that this is not a job. This is service to our community. This is not a career. This is service to our community. That should be the number one thought in my head every day when I wake up, is that this is not a job, it's service. And I believe that some people, if they want change, they should vote for me. If they want the same old thing, vote for my vote. I'm Ian O'Hara, vote for me, March 14th. Christine?
Before I start, I just want to say I have some flyers down there on the stage and my card. The flyers are last year's. I haven't gotten them yet, but I changed the date on it. All the information is still true, and I could have. Okay, I'm at 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Nothing. Okay, ready? Great thing for happening in Gulfport, and thanks to the Gulfport Merchants Chamber, we can shop for flowers, antiques, clothes, cars, homes, insurance, and anything bizarre. We can have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert. We can go to a festival, take a home tour, a walking tour, and a ghost tour. We can get our car tuned, our boat tuned, and even our piano tuned. We can get our nails done, our hair done, and taxes done. You can go to the museum, the theater, and the art center. You can join a yacht club, the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club. We can learn to dance and learn to drive, and can make music and listen to music. We can buy art, produce art, and go on an art walk. You can stop a poppy tea or whatever takes your treat. We can store our boats and store our treasures. We have fresh market and our very own blueberry patch. We have lawyers, doctors, veterinarians, bankers, accountants, plumbers, architects, educators, and everything in between. You could spend a day, spend an evening, or spend a lifetime. Seriously, why would you ever leave this city? Our shops are bustling, our restaurants are outstanding, and our residents are proud of their city, and it is so, so sweet to be the envy of other cities. Mathematically speaking, the common denominator in our community is that we all love Gulfport. We embrace each other's differences and cherish our togetherness. We will not hesitate to help one another. We will start a cause, join a cause, just because that's who we are. We are giving, passionate, and devoted people to our city. Pride, enthusiasm, and kindness are alive in Gulfport. I'm asking you to trust the great projects that you see around us and believe in the goodness of Gulfport. As your council member, my goal is to continue to stay the course, respectfully upgrade, responsibly receive, and thoughtfully move us forward without losing that defining Gulfport feeling, that sense of community that we have all come to love. Please allow me to continue to serve as your council member. I appreciate your vote on Pi Day, March 14th.
Well, first of all, let me thank the volunteers that are working here tonight. And that's all little to print clean the candidates who are sitting up here. I know it's not easy to try to answer these questions in 1 minute, let alone a second. So thank you for tonight, and thank you especially for running with the city council.